have it. The talk would have the name Tyson on it.
Or grass. Or
No, because I titled the talk, so I know. This was not my first slide. And just for mood, if we can just dim the lights a little, because I just want to do some reflecting for which dimmer lights will enhance the mood.
Nice some music?
No, we're okay without the music. Oh, they don't have it. Oh, it's not still loaded on the Mac? It was on the... Oh, he threw it. It will take me 1 second to plug in, if I may.
That's fine.
May I? Thank you.
In the interim, let me just tell you that we're already getting some feedback. I'd love to get some more from all of you at some point. We've already had some feedback from Mike Kalishman, who runs the ethics program at UCSD, and also from Larry Hinman, who runs the ethics program at USD. It was amazing to me that the two people who are concerned with religion and ethics got back some screeds very quickly to us, looking through whether the central questions, which were what is the nature of the clash between science and religion, the if not God, then what, and can we be good without God issues, were the actual ones that people spoke to. And it turns out from their analysis that they were not what was spoken to. We ended up implicitly talking about what are we trying to protect, what are the proposed threats, what do we need to do to overcome the threats, and what are the proposed solutions. And we'll post all this sort of stuff on the website later. But they had an interesting analysis here and a description of some of the solutions that came up during the comments from the various speakers. Pat Churchland, if you remember, suggested we hire a PR firm to do better science promotion. And we need some better policy making, media reporting. There was a suggestion that Islamic religion needs to be reformed. That children need to be taught the flaws in religion. Richard, thinking about Mazrin Banerjee's talk, do you reflect on the personal biases that you brought to all of this business? I mean, I remember the letter to Juliet, for example. I mean,
well, yes. Actually, since you mentioned my letter to my daughter, is Mel Connor still here?
He's actually gone. No.
Oh, I did actually take strong exception to what he said about my indoctrinating her by telling her Santa Claus didn't exist. The precise point was that I didn't do that. I invited her to think about it. I invited her to calculate. Now, that is totally different from indoctrination, and if he were here, I would demand an apology from him.
Okay. Well,
I agree with Richard on that. My daughter...
We'll pass that on.
My daughter at age 4 told me that fairies all are female. And I said, well, how do you know? Where's your evidence? She said, well, they all wear skirts. And I thought about it. It's like, yeah, all right. So I said, so we went out and had lunch after that. So
what about Scotsmen?
Not everything that wears a skirt is a fairy, but all fairies have skirts, I think was the argument.
Right.
But you're right. But yeah, I guess we could have Scottish fairies, male fairies.
Absolutely.
She hadn't learned about them yet. But I applauded the thinking. You applaud the thought, more the wiring that leads to the question, I think.
Yeah, that would be called Mac Fairy.
McFairy. Yes.
Neil Tyson.
Thank you for this indulgence. I wanted to offer some reflections as the conference draws to a close. And some of these reflections are really questions to put back out to the audience because I don't think they were addressed over these very stimulating 2.5 days. Let me first by leading with a story. I grew up pretty much as a nerd kid, although I was bigger than most other kids so that I could kick your butt. I was a nerd who could kick your butt if you tried to slam me into the lockers. So in that regard, I was... I had the soul of a nerd, and for me, that's all I cared about because that was the nerd credentials come from what goes on in your mind. And I attended the Bronx High School of Science in New York City. We were classmates, well, same school as Steven Weinberg, by the way. A school that has 7 Nobel laureates to its credit, all in physics. And so that environment is quite rich, intellectually rich, not because it has great instructors, which it may have, but that's not what distinguishes it. What distinguishes it is what you do in your interstitial time, during study hall, between classes, on the bus, long bus ride home. And you're talking about math, you're talking about physics and chemistry, things you had just learned. And so this was my life. And I was quite analytical very early, with very little room for emotion for things, because emotion was kind of irrational to me. Why are you crying? Is that going to fix the problem? So just why don't you try to fix the problem rather than crying or getting uncontrollably frantic. And that's how I was right up to college. And I had this moment in college, this epiphanic moment with regard to my rational mind. And it took place my freshman year. I was taking, it'll sound simple and meaningless to you, but for me it was quite meaningful because my life pivoted on that one moment. Went to a liberal arts college, and there, I majored in physics, but went to a liberal arts college. So half my courses were not physics or math. More than half. 60% was other stuff. One of them was a survey course in art and design. The full year, September to May. We covered everything. Illustrations, charcoal, drawing of nudes. By the way, I think the claim of the beauty of the naked human body is overrated, okay, just in case you're wondering. And so we built a chair out of cardboard and built wooden. We just did everything that art and design people do. Well, around October, they hauled in this wall of pumpkins, okay? And this is in a beautiful art studio. And we were to draw the pumpkins with charcoal. And so I did that. And there's like 50 pumpkins, the gnarly-looking pumpkins, the kinds that people didn't buy and were then surely acquired on the cheap for this exercise. So I became one of the best pumpkin drawers you've ever met, all right? Ask me later to draw a pumpkin for you. I'll be very happy to. And this is just because I felt like the Karate Kid, where he said just, paint fence. It was like, draw a pumpkin. We drew pumpkins for 3 weeks. And I had no understanding of why we were doing this. And I was saying, why am I even in this class? Because that was preceded in the charcoal exercises. They played music, and the guy comes up to me and says, draw the music. I said, huh? He says, draw the energy in the music. And this, you can't, I just graduated from the Bronx High School of Science. You don't tell such a person to draw the energy in the music. Energy is MC squared, 1/2 G. I've got equations for energy. You don't draw energy that you hear. And so this course was like, what? And I was ready to explode because I'd say, where are they coming from? These are grown-up people speaking this way. Don't they understand the precision of how to communicate real-life things in the real world? And so there I was, drawing pumpkins. And then, week 4, after what was surely my 100,000th pumpkin, and they're stacked against the wall in all kinds of angles. And the week 4 I come in, the pumpkins are still there. And they said, this time, don't draw the pumpkin. Draw the space between the pumpkins. And at that moment, I snapped. Because, no, think about it. I spent 3 weeks endowing meaning to pumpkins on a level never have I endowed meaning to such a thing before, and now they are just the boundaries to emptiness. And now I'm to give meaning to the emptiness. And my mind just snapped. I probably looked like I was comatose. And what happened to me at that moment was my brain did some kind of inversion. Something snapped, because after that, as I started drawing the space between the pumpkins, I started seeing things I'd never seen before. That's not a gap between these two wooden panels. That is itself a shape.